I'll just listen in.
Yeah. So, okay. There we go. Hi,
Hello,
Bruce. How are
everybody.
you?
Hey guys.
Sorry I'm late.
Me too.
That's okay.
Someone, it never fails. People like call you and then I'm thinking, oh, this will be just a quick little call. And then it's when they want to chat. And I'm like, okay, I gotta go. I got a Zoom call. So
Right. Exactly. Exactly. What kind of wood is on your ceiling? That's beautiful.
thank you. It's actually our flooring. It's the same as our flooring. So it's an engineered hardwood. I think it is
Oak.
oak. Well, no, I'm not sure. I'm not even
Okay.
gonna
Yeah, it's
act
beautiful.
like I know. It's my
Yeah.
same flooring. So
I'm seeing more of that on the ceilings.
yeah, it's kind of fun little detail anyway. So
Yeah, absolutely. It's just money.
yep. Yep, can't take it with you.
No way.
Yeah.
So
Well,
we'll just wait a few more minutes to see if anybody else pops on. Any
Yeah.
fun things happening? Any big wins for anybody this last week?
Hey, I got a good one under contract, but I don't want to talk about it because I don't want to jinx it because we're doing inspection tomorrow.
Okay, we'll keep our fingers crossed for you.
Okay, we're zipped.
Yeah,
I got kind of the same thing
Wow.
right now. I got one under contract and the inspections today, and I'm just praying. And I have a tough inspector.
Yeah.
So,
Oh,
But I
do you
want
have-
to call Friday with the success from the inspection.
oh, there we go.
Okay, we gotta celebrate on Friday with your inspection success, right? So we should have another Zoom meeting and just
We
have like
should.
have a little drink party.
happy
Why?
hour.
Yes.
Happy hour.
Really, is it Doug?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
See, I used to work in Minnesota. I was just chatting with, what's your name again? I'm sorry, the presenter.
Denise.
Okay, I was chatting with Denise, and I used to live in Minnesota. She was asking if we protest taxes here, and we don't, but I want to listen in anyway. So I like learning.
Yep. Well, and like I said, there has to be some way in Arizona that if somebody is not happy with the valuation that they have an option. So there is
Yeah.
some sort of process, I'm sure. It's just
Yeah,
digging in,
and maybe we do, and I just don't know it. I don't
Right.
know, how that is. I learn new stuff all the time. So
right. I know
Well,
that's
on the tax bills or the tax valuations that go out in any state I've lived in, there usually is something about if you want to contest your taxes, call this number or something. But there are states that have very specific processes. So it's just a matter of understanding that.
yeah, awesome.
Knowing
Yeah,
that.
I pulled ours out too. I mean, you always know like, oh yeah, I can call the county, but really what is the process, right? So that's going to be
Right.
part of what's going on fun today. So anybody else have any big wins before we get into the presentation part?
So real quick, not for a big win, I just put a copy of the outline or a link for the outline for Denise's presentation in the
Thank you.
chat. So if you want to click on that, you can quick download it or print it out, make some notes, keep it so that you know exactly what's covered today and what's going on.
Yes.
Awesome.
Big win. Don't get to eat today. Have a doctor's appointment tomorrow. This is going to be awesome.
Okay.
Colonoscopy.
Yes. So like
Yeah.
this is my
Oh.
big win. I know we're probably sharing too much here, but this is my big win. Bruce is 61. So
Wait, is this recorded?
yes,
Yeah.
Yes.
for everyone to see.
Do you want to stop and start over?
Yeah, he's 61 and has never had one. And I have
Bruce.
and I have told him this is not good, right? Just go in for the baseline, right? And then if it's all good, then you can do
Yes.
like the Cologuard or whatever.
Thank you.
But yes, so and I'm a past board member for American Cancer Society. So this is really important for me, right? So finally he's getting it done. So it's a huge win for the Domaille family today.
Good.
Okay, so just in my defense, I did not make that decision. My doctor made it for me.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Can I
You gotta
say?
get it done.
Just wait till tonight, Bruce.
Yeah.
The fun begins later.
No kidding. Oh my God.
Yeah,
All
I
right.
can't wait.
Let's move off that
Yes.
topic.
Yeah, don't we have a Zoom meeting to get
Yes,
to?
we do. Okay.
Yes.
Without further ado, our guest today's real estate experience encompasses California, New Jersey, and now North Texas, where she's lived since 2016. And she currently owns and manages investment property both in Southern California and in Texas. And as we were kind of chatting about, we all know that property taxes are partially calculated using market values. And similar to other states, Texas has especially experienced major market value increases, partly due to a lot of population growth and corporate relocations to the area, and especially following COVID. And as a result, property tax bills increase tremendously for Texas homeowners every year. And the state of Texas has a property tax protest process, which is offered to homeowners every spring, and it actually captures news coverage. That's how big of a deal this is statewide. And this protest process is somewhat cumbersome to the point where the majority of homeowners actually ignore submitting the protest because it's just a lot of work, right? So in 2019, Denise saw this as an opportunity to really add value to her clients, her sphere, her database, and the community, where this process is just so, it's perceived to be such a problem, and a lot of homeowners don't even bother because they just feel it's not worth their time and effort. And so Denise has been really refining her strategy and processes each year to successfully market to and attract the public to keep connected with her sphere. And she is so excited today to share this mining for gold opportunity with us so that you can add more value to your clients and sphere and community. So without further ado, I will hand it over to Denise Baradesco, and I apologize for not spelling her name correct on the initial invite. So welcome, Denise, and thank you for sharing this awesome opportunity with us today.
Yes, thank you, Kelly and Bruce, for the opportunity. I really appreciate this. I do get very excited about this. Hopefully you guys will catch my enthusiasm, as we move forward. Looking back, when I first started doing this, probably around 2019, it really has become an opportunity to connect with your community, my community, my sphere, database, the whole thing. But using all of Krista's marketing tools, this just really kind of blows it out of the water. So, and it's great to talk to this audience because we already know what those tools are. Where when I do that, when I talk with other agents, they don't have this toolbox to
well, and Denise, a lot of people on here are not part of Krista's coaching. So,
okay.
Yeah, so not everybody does have those tools. So, yeah.
Okay. That's good to know the audience. So, so we do have quite a bit of information to go over, and some of it will seem overwhelming and technical, but what I just recommend is that everybody keep the information with the outline, and it's a really good form to just follow, as you're going through this process and kind of setting up your own process. So when I first moved here in 2016, the year after I got my tax bill, and it went up, and my property tax in California is pretty much the same, and it went up by several $100s. So it was a big increase. And then the next year it went up even more. And so then with the news coverage, with the protest process that's in Texas, I was like, okay, this is a thing out here. So as I started to, get more information, there was a writer in the Dallas Morning, in one of the Dallas newspapers that puts on a webinar every year, and he has a whole panel of appraisers and also real estate attorneys. And so I really was able to get a lot of information from that and realize how big this is in Texas. And then as I was talking to more homeowners, a lot of people just either they give up, they don't do it, they don't understand the process, it's not worth their time, but their tax bill is going up every single year. And a lot of it's based on how the market value is going up. So, I actually did kind of a little experiment with my girlfriend. So she's in a different county than I am. And by this time, she was in Texas for almost 20 years. And so I said, hey, can we protest have you ever protested your taxes? And she said, no, I've never done that because it's not worth my time. And so I've known her for a long time. And so I said, we're going to set up your account and we're going to do it right now. And she really pushed back on this. Long story short, her county actually will give the response immediately, where not all counties do that. Sometimes you have to wait. She wound up getting like $76,000 assessed reduction on her assessed value on the spot for her 2 properties. So I realized the value in that, because she's a very smart person. She's very well read and educated, and she's not doing it. So I've helped her every year, and every year it's gone up and up in the reduction on that. So in 2019, that's when I started to just put a Facebook ad out and just kind of market. I got a lot of kind of new clients from next door. And I didn't really have a strategy, so I just kind of put it out there. So I got a lot of local homeowners, that were really close to me. And I started to do a little bit where I'd meet them at, a coffee shop and drive to them. And I found that it was really time consuming to get to appointment. So I couldn't really batch appointment times. So when COVID hit, this really was an opportunity because everybody was on Zoom. And that way I was able to accommodate more homeowners. And I think that year I probably met with 60 homeowners at that time. Again, my processes weren't, very clear, and I was kind of making it as I went, and I was learning about, the whole process and what all the ins and outs are, because the public generally only knows about 1 or 2 ways to really fight your property taxes. So, by 2021, that's when I created a video and I started to kind of market it, kind of stuff that, Krista is teaching. However, that was kind of all that I knew what my tools were at the time. So every year I would get those repeat, people that I was meeting with, and I would get more, and I was becoming more clear on how to help people. So at this time I can have back-to-back 30-minute Zoom appointments where I am able to easily assess how to help that homeowner. And what I'm also doing is helping them understand and do it themselves, where they'll actually will go into their account, they'll pre-register, go into their account, and we will do it. We'll work on it together, so that the goal is by the end of that 30 minutes, they've submitted their protest and it's off their plate. There are some situations where I have to do, more follow-up and kind of make sure that they're getting all the information in to the county appraisal office that is required. Let's say, receipts for major renovations or something like that. So I'll do some follow-up with that. And then additionally, there are some homeowners that are not satisfied with what the county is offering as a reduction, because you never get 100% what you ask for. So it can go to a protest hearing. And that is a very formalized legal process where you are in front of a panel of 4 different appraisers, all with their computers, and you have 5 minutes to speak. So, and you're under oath as well. So it's, it can be intimidating. And so I will walk people through that process as well. So that's kind of my experience with that. This year alone, when I've worked with homeowners, I probably worked with 75 homeowners, and I reviewed $38 million in assessed values and options with every one of those homeowners. I got a reduction of a combined $9 million in assessed values, which equals more than $180,000 worth of reduced property taxes.
Wow.
And the property taxes are coming out now. So I did this back in the spring.
Denise, do you provide like comparables? Like if they have to go before that board, you know what I mean? Are you helping them find comparable properties to help show the reduced value?
What I'll do is that's in my whole presentation.
Okay, sorry.
So we'll go over that. No, great questions. And Bruce, am I able to share my screen?
You know what?
Yeah, Kelly will give you access in a second.
Okay.
Hang on, sorry. I should have done that
So I
earlier.
did a PowerPoint, so hopefully everything works out with the.
Yes, you should be able to do it right now. Yes.
Okay, here we go. Okay, are you able to see my screen?
Yep.
Okay. Here we go. Oh my gosh, I'm doing technology. I love it. Okay, let me set it up for the presentation. Okay. Can everyone see this?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So here we are today. Here is my contact information, which is also in the outline as well. So anybody has any questions along the way at any time, just reach out to me. Okay, here we go. Okay, takeaways. Tools to build strong base for current and future business growth opportunities. Develop an opportunity to demonstrate your knowledge, professionalism, and contribution. This is really an opportunity that homeowners can interview you, and you can interview them as well, and create excitement about working with you. Okay, okay, here we go. So we'll cover today marketing protest schedule. So really the focus is to how we can utilize this opportunity and how to market to it and add value to your sphere community. And the goal is to save them time and money with their protests and ultimately lower their tax bill. And you are the hero. And I guarantee nobody will question you on what your knowledge base is. Tools to effectively explain to homeowners in less than 30 minutes the property tax protest that is allowed in your state, and the timeline and benefits, and incorporate your county property tax protest requirements into the conversation. So we were talking earlier that, you know, maybe there's a state that doesn't have a specific process or doesn't really advertise it. So any information that you can get about property taxes in your state or your county and how to give information to homeowners or future clients, you're gonna be 10 times ahead of any other real estate agent in your area. Anything that we do, like toward the end, where I actually have the checklist to prepare for these appointments, I would recommend going into your appraisal office and meeting with an appraiser and asking them what the options are, and use my outline is to ask the very specific questions to see if they offer anything like that. And the questions that I have, they may be hard to understand, but an appraiser will understand them and then hopefully explain what they have offered in their county. It's important to understand the time frame used to assess the property values. Are there protest options? Are there exemptions offered? What the county time frame is to work with in terms of a protest option. Are investors offered any protection? In Texas, investors are not. So if the market value goes up 30%, we are taxed on 30% of that increase. How can you simplify steps for homeowners to get the information that will help them? Is there a website? You know, can they register an account? And have you gone through this process yourself? That is really helpful if you have had firsthand knowledge, because then when you talk to a homeowner, you can walk them through and you can let them know I'm in the same boat. And so it kind of helps them to feel a little bit better about that. So why is it important to understand about property taxes and how it impacts homeowners? Any homeowner in the United States has to pay taxes, and no one loves paying property taxes. And it's kind of an emotional thing. And, you know, in presenting a protest process, that's why people push back, is because it's not something that they want to talk about. So each homeowner pays property taxes in every state. Taxes impact the monthly payment for purchasing power with any homeowners that you're working with. Tax payments can increase annually, and you are the expert and resource. So the problem is paying the property taxes. Nobody wants to pay them, and the solution is you. So this is a great opportunity for you to be that resource. Hang on. My screen froze. Are you guys still there?
Yep.
Okay, give me 1 second. Okay, here we go. There's different buttons to push to change the page. So here we go. I'm figuring this out. Okay, so if you have a general understanding of how your county, what they offer homeowners to help save money. So let's say we already have that understanding, even if it's a high level. I would recommend 1 month prior become familiar with your appraiser's website and meet with your appraiser to have some general understanding. Create a video, and I have a script attached, and it's based on a book called it's like, anyways, I'll think of it later. But this really is about creating your hook, solve the problem to attract interest, and create the urgency on all platforms. And then create, so after you create your script, then you're going to create your video and possibly mailer. I utilize the Calendly. And so whatever calendar link that you may use or app, this really comes in handy because you can set up a link for your 30-minute appointments. You can include what the homeowners need to do prior to the meeting. So I always ask the homeowners to pre-register, and I provide the website in the calendar link, and they are asked for their address, email, and phone number, and it will always be accurate because they want to meet with you. Minimize your dates and times available the first 2 weeks, and you can always add more dates. So for us, I'll give you an example. Homeowners get their assessed notice in between mid-April and mid-May. And that's when our protest period is. So I always kind of liken it to the first week, they're in denial. The second week, they're kind of mulling it over. The third week, they're thinking, well, maybe I should do something about this before the deadline. And then panic is the fourth week. So the first 2 weeks is going to be very quiet unless you've worked with people before. They may reach out to you. But the last 2 weeks is going to be really busy. And I just set it up for my schedule. And if people can't get in with a certain date, then they'll reach out to you. So, and it always works out. You will cover everybody, but just know those last 2 weeks, you're probably going to be talking to the majority of your homeowners at that time. And when they register, also you can put your Zoom link in there so that they will have all the information. Will go on their calendar and have the video link for their scheduled date. Okay. I also recommend during this time is to schedule when you're going to launch your video and your social media teaser. And I have it attached to that script as well. And then here are some recommendations on where to place that. And you can also put the ad spend behind the Facebook page as well. So this actually has really helped me to target exactly like 5 minutes from where I live. So depending on your area, if you live more out, it may be a rural area, then, you can kind of broaden that out. But this really, you can really help just by using these locations to really target market to those neighborhoods really close to you. I would also recommend during this time to create your step-by-step plan to connect and follow up before, during, and after this event. Okay, my computer keeps changing, there we go. Okay, what buttons work? So around 2 weeks before, you're launching your video and your social media teaser. Use this opportunity to video text your top to 10% in your database and provide your calendar link. Do 100% of your database if that works. And then consider, what experience do you want a homeowner to have with you? Your message is to help them save time and money. And by having this 30-minute meeting with you, they're going to know that you're the local expert and resource. So kind of think about that experience, and you can have fun with this. You know what? You're in the same boat as them, trying to save money. And so that kind of is a common experience for you, and show your personality. Don't be afraid to have fun with it. Show your personality, because then you're going to be relatable to the homeowners, and that's what they're going to remember. And then what message or takeaway do you want to leave with the homeowner? And that's pretty much that you're the resource. Okay, give me 1 second. There we go. Hang on. Okay. Bear with me, please. There we go. Okay. So let's say we're preparing for your 30-minute protest to meet with the homeowners. So this is where it's going to be maybe a little bit, it's going to be a lot of information, but keep in mind that use this checklist when you need it. So for instance, when you actually go and meet with an appraiser at your county, and then you would be able to go through all this. So, but at least going through this today, we'll have some familiarity with it. And then at the end of this, I'll answer any questions and try to, walk you through whatever questions that you have. So when you meet with the appraisal office, or give them a call, or, however you want to do this, or go on their website, Kelly, to answer your question, it's important to try to understand in general, because we're not an appraiser. So we're just going to be kind of a conduit for communication. You want to understand how the county values the appraisals. So with us, it's the assessed values, and they increase every single year. So understanding that, and also, are there limitations on how much a homeowner can be assessed? So let's say, with us, the market could go up 30%, but if they have a homestead exemption, it's a piece of paper filed with the county, then they are protected up to that 10%. So right now it's up to 40%, and we just voted to raise it up to 100%. So that was an important thing. Also keeping, just kind of, I'm jumping ahead, but if there's anything on the ballot to vote for property taxes, that's a great way to reach out to your database as well. So I utilize that for a lot of video text messages. So that's a change that we recently had. And then also we were voting to help investors also be protected to a certain amount. So that was an important proposition on our ballot just yesterday. So I've noticed on my properties that I have here in Texas that if the market goes up 30–40%, that's what I'm taxed on. So it's really important to know what else I can do to lower that for myself, but also other homeowners. It's also, it's helpful to know how to log on, what's the registration process, and know the deadline. So for instance, we have in spring, the assess appraisal notices go out. That's what the homeowners will be taxed on in November with their taxes. So there's two different departments, the appraisal department and then the assessor's office. So there's two different departments to do two different things. So it's important to know when that is. There's also, if a homeowner wants to go to a protest hearing, it's important to know those dates as well, and they are hard legal dates. A homeowner can't walk in and say, oh, I forgot and all that. It's a very hard date, because they're dealing with, in our county, we're dealing with several million people. So they need to keep the process going because of the volume. And then what does the county allow for a reduction in their assessed value? Comps. So Kelly, that was one that you had asked for. Is purchase price an option? So in years prior, the county allowed for us to provide closing disclosure to show that the purchase price was lower than what the assessed value is. Now that the market values are so high, they're not letting homeowners use that anymore. So they will change what their policies are. So the more that you understand about what a county allows and what their requirements are, you'll kind of know as things change, and then you can keep your homeowners up to date on that. One thing that we can provide is evidence, they call it, so the appraiser calls it evidence of major repairs. So anything that's structural, safety, major components, ACs, or anything like that. So if, as an example, if a homeowner's assessed for 600,000, but they had, foundation repairs and they had their whole AC system repaired at $30,000, that actually would be a lower valued home on the market than one that didn't have any of these repairs. So that's something that, our appraisal office will consider. They do not promise anything. Major renovations, exemptions, depreciation. So here, the homeowner's exemption is very important that homeowners file that with that as soon as they purchase their home, because it will cap the amount that can be taxed on. Additionally, we have the disabled vets exemption over 65. So even if if your county allows those and you meet with a homeowner and you just make sure that their exemptions are filed, that's a win-win for you. So I would say if you're going to do anything and maybe just one thing, that would be the place to start for your homeowners. And I know homeowners that have lived here for 15 years and have never filed their homestead.
Right. And not every state that probably is represented here is a homestead state, but it can be significant for people. So if you are a homestead state, even just like you said, that's a great way to get in front of your clients too. Send a reminder, make sure you've got your homestead file.
Well, and if you're able to have that meeting and review that with your homeowner, you're kind of teaching them, but you get up close and personal. You get that one-on-one, face-to-face too. Okay, understand the timeline the appraiser uses to assess values. Here, as of January 1st, it's a hard start date where they start appraising all of the homes in their particular assigned territory, so that when they send out the appraisal notices on April 15th, they're basing it on January 1st. So, and every county is different. I could go really deep on all this stuff, but it's just a point of conversation if and when you're able to meet with your county appraiser office to ask, what are their timelines? Because there's so much volume that's involved, they have to kind of do things ahead of time. So as an example, the assessed values are basically based on market values from the prior year. So it's not current. So they're always a year behind. And that's important to understand, because when a client is looking at their tax bill, they're like, how did this happen when maybe there was a decline that year, but it's based on the prior year because it's a full calendar year. So we talked about the exemption cap classifications, upcoming propositions that will be voted for. That's a great opportunity for video, text, social media in your database. Understand when tax bills are mailed. What are the limits that a county can tax? And that has to do with your exemptions. What impacts assessed value? Market values, PIDs, MUDs, PUDs. So that's actually, like, specifically, I know it's a lot. We have this a lot in Texas. Those are additional taxing entities, especially if it's a new development. Melrose is something that I know I had in California, and it was a 20-year bond. And once that paid off for that neighborhood, then it dropped off. So our tax bill went down because we had already paid it. So it's just understanding if there's any other impact on the tax bill in an area. So for instance, in California, we didn't have really a protest process, but we had the Melrose. And so that's good for a homeowner to know that once that bond pays off, that your tax bill will be reduced. And then you can find out how much longer that bond has before it's paid off. So there's always kind of something there that you can add value to a homeowner in any state. What is the percent of increase from last year in terms of assessed value? So I always look at every notice of appraised value for every homeowner, and I calculate what the percent of increase is. And then we kind of go from there to see how we can lower that and make sure that they have all their homestead, all their exemptions filed to help out. Okay, give me 1 second.
Yeah, you just think of all the possible touches you can have just from this screen.
Right. So just have this, just know where this check sheet is, and when you need
Mhm.
it, you can refer to it. Another thing is, are in-person meetings available with an appraiser? So during COVID, the last couple of years, in-person meetings were not available with appraiser. I have had the opportunity to meet in person, and it's a much different conversation than when you're submitting something online. When you're submitting something online, it's a panel of appraisers. They'll hire retired appraisers, so it's just people going through and they're checking the boxes. If you're able to have an in-person meeting, sometimes it does help because they can explain things for your personal situation. I will tell you that appraisers are a different breed. Their love language is numbers only. And if you use some of my terminology here, you're speaking their language and it makes them very happy. And I notice that when I'm very organized and I'm very specific on what my bullet points are that I'm going to cover, they respond a lot better, because a lot of homeowners will go in very emotional and they don't really know what they're asking, but they're panicking because they don't know what to do and they just feel like it's unfair. So I've learned that if I kind of speak their language a little bit, it's a much better conversation. And I have gone in person with people. When I did go in person with my girlfriend that I talked about in the very beginning, I went in person and I met with her. She had 4 properties. And I brought in my comps that I found, and the appraiser. So these appraisers are responsible for thousands of households. My particular appraiser is responsible for 14,000 households. So I took the comps into this appraiser when I met, and he did not have a comp that I had. And I could tell that he was kind of panicking a little bit, because that meant that he didn't have that comp for all of those homeowners. But he couldn't fix all the thousands of different assessed values. So in that meeting, my girlfriend, her assessed value on each of her properties was reduced to $141,000. Just because I had that one comp. Now, that doesn't happen every time, but I let people know when they're a little bit nervous about submitting a protest. It's like, your appraiser has responsibility for so many homeowners, and they don't know what's going on your particular property. This is our opportunity to find out and let them know and see if there's any options.
Well, and you've got nothing to lose, right? I mean, there's the thing, right? If in the end they go, nope, sorry, okay, you've got nothing to lose, but you've got everything to gain. So
absolutely. And you don't know how next year is going to be. So, this is something that happens every single year, and the market changes every year, and our situation changes every year. So, I do let them know. I do let them know up front. There's no guarantee. This is what I would ask for, but keep in mind, they're never going to approve 100%, but maybe they'll meet you in the middle, and that's all we can do. The other thing is, people, because they've never protested, they're so nervous because they're afraid that if the appraiser says no, that the appraisal will come and raise their assessed value. And it's just not going to happen. But that is a conversation to have with your appraiser in your county, because I have heard, but it's not something that I've actually confirmed, but I have heard in Colorado that has happened. So again, I haven't confirmed that, but my experience is that the appraiser will not go and raise that, because again, they're working with thousands of homeowners. And so they have to be consistent for the batch that they're working with. So another thing that has happened for my home was that there was a recalculation for depreciation for effective year built. Do not feel like you have to understand that. Just know that that's something that you can ask if and when you ever meet with your appraiser, if there's basically a recalculation for depreciation. So for instance, when we bought our house, it was coming up to close to the 15-year mark, and it had not been maintained. So if you put my house on the market at the same time somebody had, full market value, we had to put a lot into it to bring it up to that market value. So at that time, we were given the depreciation was recalculated. So I just added it in there because you won't know unless you ask. So it's in there as well. One thing I did not put in here is that there's two ways for valuation that we have is market value, but there's also one for uniform. I may have had it somewhere in here, uniform and equal. What that means is the county, and believe me, they have their whole database. So when you're asking these questions, they can be looking it up on the spot. We also have a calculation that the appraisers can also look at what your neighbors have also been assessed and to see if there's any reduction in that area as well. Actually, I put it in number 13. That's what that means. So when I met with my appraiser for my personal property, this appraiser is very, very tough on my neighborhood. They do not look for a lot of, they basically don't give out any reductions. So even though I can do it for other people, she wound up giving me, and I met with her in person, she gave me a 1.62% reduction. And that equated to $17,000 in my assessed value. Dollar for dollar, you know, based on the tax rate, it's really not much, but for me, it was the principal. I have a feeling that probably she did that just so I would leave her office because I kept asking, I kept trying, you know, I went through my own checklist. And so I got a 1.62% reduction. So when people complain to me, I'm like, well, you know, you got like a 10% reduction and this is what I got. So we're all in it together. One of the counties that I work in, they offer a reduction for investment properties. So that reduction saves me more time and money than I try to do with doing for anything else, because we cannot file any exemptions on our investment properties. I have asked this in other counties for a reduction because I have another property in another county and they don't allow it. So every appraisal county can do make their own rules, but it doesn't hurt to ask. Maybe at some point my county will, you know, implement it, but hopefully on this last proposition that we voted for yesterday, hopefully that passes. So that will help our investors. So things are always changing. And then does your county offer a protest hearing, and what does that look like, and what is the best way to prepare a homeowner? So basically, you know, when people are going to a hearing, it's typically somebody that has grit and is okay presenting in front of 4 appraisers who all have their own computers. And I based on their situation, I'll have them prepared with bullet points only, in order of importance, how to best present their case in 5 minutes or less. And because at the hearing, they don't allow really crosstalk or anything like that, or questions. So, and when people do that, it goes really smoothly, and people come out of it when they've been that prepared and they're like, okay, that was pretty easy. Okay. So this check sheet kind of mirrors what we just went over. So depending on what your county allows, what works for you, you can take this check sheet and cut and paste. But this is basically what I will cover when I'm in my meeting with my client. So let's say I log on to my 30 minutes, my video. I use Zoom a lot. I will have already printed out their notice, and I keep everything in a binder here. So in 5 minutes, I can look at their notice. I look at the percent of increase from last year. I can see what exemptions they need, have filed or haven't filed. And then when I hop on to the meeting, I will actually share my screen with them and go over my MLS to look at comps. It's a search engine. We all know how to do the search engine. So I don't feel like I'm divulging anything with that at all. And I can also look at maybe what's on the market at that time, and say, hey, this is, so you kind of can talk a little bit about what's going on in their market at the time, very, very briefly. Now, when I first started doing this, I wasn't that organized. So you can print out a quick CMA on the comps for the timeline that you need, that you're looking at, because it's usually the year before, and then review it at the time. And then I get them to go onto their account. They share the screen with me. We go into their account. We put all the information in. I walk them through, submit their protest, and we're done. So the check sheet that it's in the outline, those could be those questions that you review at the time with your homeowner in terms of what would be applicable for them. And then there's always options for follow-up. For instance, please let me know what happens with your protest. Let me know what the outcome is, because I'm keeping track. And that's really good, because that's how I know how much money was saved, how much assessed value I reviewed, the whole thing. And sometimes they'll get back to you and sometimes they won't. It's a great way to follow up with them in 2 weeks.
Get testimonials.
And they love the testimonials because it's super, super easy. So I usually will do that like right after the conversation, and send a Google link. And, if they haven't responded, then when you follow up, hey, can we do the Google link kind of thing? Then if there's a protest situation, then that's another way to follow up, because the protest usually is like the month after the protest period ends. So there is a lot of follow-up. There's a lot of tedious, but I think we're kind of already doing a lot of this anyways. And, as you are doing the protest process with the bulk of your homeowners, once they've submitted or there's nothing that they can do to submit, then the number that you actually have to follow up with for resolution is reduced by quite a bit. But now you have reasons to continue to follow up with that group, and they already know you, love you, and trust you. You're the expert, and it's just growing on that. So everybody, the outline is in the chat. There's a lot of really meaty information in there, but I think once you have an opportunity to meet with your appraiser for your county, I think a lot of those questions would be answered, and you can start crossing off or reducing it or adding to it, whatever works best for you, and have fun with it, because this is an opportunity for you to show your personality and show how relatable you are. And then just kind of go from there. And I do keep a spreadsheet, like I said, and that's been really helpful, because then I can compare the next year, kind of how that was. So
I think
okay,
so everybody has a little bit of, a different process based on where you're at. I know I'm in Minnesota, Olmsted County. It's a pretty simple process, it appears.
Yeah.
We have a deadline. If you just file, you go to a local meeting. If you didn't get the answer that you wanted, you then can go to like their big appeal meeting, right?
Okay.
And one of those. So, but again, I think that the takeaway here is, Denise runs her system the way she does in Texas.
Yes.
Wherever you live, find out the protest process, get to know the people down at the county, the appraisers, the assessors, really learn and build relationships there, because that's key. I think you're not just some Yahoo coming in, throwing, stuff at the wall and hoping it's going to stick, right? If you're building relationships and you're coming in and developed, they understand that you know what you're talking about, they're going to take you more seriously. And you can best advise your clients in your state, your county, your area with the process. But I love this idea, Denise, because you talk about value. When you're saving people thousands of dollars, there's no way they're going to forget you. I mean, I just had a coffee appointment yesterday with two realtors in our area. And I was telling them about Denise on our Empire this morning. And he said he has helped just a couple different homeowners this past year, just in basic conversation. He's not even working this like you do.
Yeah, see? Yeah.
And he's gotten a couple more referrals just from the fact that he helped two homeowners save a couple $1,000s. So boy, the fact that you're working this on a high level, boy, if you guys can get, a couple to, 5, 6, 7, 8 transactions a year because people really saw you as a resource and expert and you help them. What a great way to develop a deep niche for sure. Does anybody have questions for Denise and her process or how she markets this?
Do you guys see value in this?
Oh my, I don't know if there's any feedback on my here, because I'm kind of in a louder area, but this Kelly kind of took the words right out of my mouth. This is like the definition of value. And in a competitive market, wherever it is, like this is how you separate yourself, not only as an agent, but just as like a person that cares about their community. And that's, you can't quantify when other people talk about what you did for them, whether you're working with them or not. This is how you separate yourself in an industry as the expert, because you're providing value to what you're doing and not just going through the motions like a lot of other agents do. This helps me on a mortgage side, because this could
Yes.
help me qualify a borrower that might not be qualified. If I reduce their taxes by 10, 20% or something like that, based on something that happened, all of a sudden that wasn't approved by another lender or whatever the situation is, I could maybe approve them. That's part of the process. So that's one I wanted to ask you is, when you get started, let's say you've got a listing that you found out somebody that, is looking into it, and they find out maybe they're not qualified, and you go through this process for your sellers potentially, because that could be an additional benefit as an advertising thing when you're going to sell the home. How long does this process take? I'm sure it's county specific, obviously government. But when you go to the hearing, like, right then and there, if they're dropping it, do they make a decision right then, or do they get back to
Right.
XYZ amount of time?
No, they do.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, on the spot.
Nice. That's
so
huge.
So for instance, like if, let's say, I know California, so they don't really have a protest process. So it would be good to understand generally how you could help homeowners. So for instance, knowing that the Melrose bond pays down, and you can find out how long that is. Maybe it's the next year that they're actually, the bond's going to be paid off. So the following year, their tax bill is going to be lowered. So sometimes it's going to be a matter of information. And then if it's more of a, like Texas has a more specific process, there's very specific timelines. So for instance, I can't just go to the appraisal office and say, hey, I want to protest, right? It has to be within certain times, but that's where you add value, because when those times are, and you could either follow up with a client and have them reach out to you at that time to protest. So then you become that value at that time.
And Aaron, that would be a question back to you then. As an agent, if I went through, the protest, or let's just say I knew a bond was coming off within the next 12 months, from a lender's perspective, we always need like income to be good for at least 12 months to be able to use it. Can you then go, oh, hey, within 12 months, those taxes are going to be lower, I could now qualify, or does it not work that way?
So yeah, that's a great question. If I get documentation from the county, that's absolutely something I can do. As long as, especially from a government agency like that, because 90% of loans are government backed, but we go straight off the tax roll. Like I go right to the county website and I print out the tax roll. So if there's an addendum or something like that, it works the same way as if I just had my internet company come through and like update all the lines, and they ripped up all the streets. Well, we had a little petition going around. You guys are not going to be assessing us for new curb and gutter or anything like that, just FYI. So we had to kind of get ahead of it a little bit, because those can hit you. And as a lender, we do have to not only disclose, but if the seller's unwilling to pay, that goes against the buyer. So these are the type of things to get ahead of it, and work hand in hand with your team, like you said, the appraiser, with your lender, whoever it is, to get ahead of this stuff, because that's how you separate yourself when it comes to, a competitive market, when you're putting, multiple offers in, and how can you separate yourself? Not only that, but you don't have to, if I'm a listing agent and I see a buyer's agent that's, got their crap together, realistically, I'm going to be a lot more inclined to, work with them, just because from a communication and an astuteness level, they're on top of it. And those are the people you want to work with. So when I see that pre-approval come through, from that particular agent, like I know what that agent's bringing to the table. And then your name kind of, especially from Denise, you spoke to, like, if you just do it in your small community, even it's hard. There's some big teams out there that have market share, you know, that do the advertising, and it's like, you get this person and that person. And if you're kind of doing your own thing, you can take in your own little market and be that person. And it's like, you're not working with a big team. You're not a number, you're me. And here's what I do differently. They might not be doing that because they're about turning numbers, you know,
Right.
and that's that personal level, and you got a client for life. So this was
and I'll tell you,
good.
A lot of agents, they're like, oh, this protest thing, that's just too much work. It's not worth it. They don't see the value in it. I mean, and it's so important for you to understand taxes in your county because everybody has to pay them, and it does affect, you know, the monthly payment.
You're literally the expert.
And this is definitely
when I'm at closes
doing.
What was that?
I said, this is definitely a niche that you don't see anybody else doing. I mean, you don't ever hear anybody going, hey, if you have any questions with your property value, let us know. We can help you, you know, protest that. I mean, that's just
and it's not fluff either. Like she's got like we saw the binder. Like this isn't fluff. So
that's just 1 year. That's just 2023.
And everybody's different. Like I know our county, you know, we're generally about a year to 2 years behind on a value, right? So as market, you know, as values are going up, the taxes, granted, I'm sure they're nipping at our heels a little bit quicker as values are going up versus when they're going down. They kind of take their time, right? As they reevaluate. So we're kind of on this bell curve, at least where we are. So, you know, it is important that we can provide information to help keep things as accurate as possible, right? I mean, especially if values are dropping, right? Values are dropping. The assessors are still up here with their valuations. We need to, you know, be there to help and be a resource, like you said.
Right.
Top of mind in front of your past clients. Like just because you sold the house like 4 years ago, this is how you stay in front of them. So there isn't some other brokerage sign in that yard, you know, with that, you know, because you didn't stay in front of your client.
Right.
Well, I will tell you that I have not been good with follow-up for a lot of different reasons. And this year I'm very clear on what I need to do. And when I was reviewing my list from last year, 5 people had sold their home. So
that's just a reminder that you're coming from contribution, which is awesome, and you're adding value, but we also have to be purposeful, right?
Absolutely.
And by the way, if
a hard lesson,
buying or selling, right?
That was a hard lesson. And just know that like when you do, for instance, if you do a 30-minute Zoom, you will start to lose people about 12 minutes in. So you have to be able to read your audience and kind of tailor it to them on what they can handle, because this is something that just is hard for people to understand unless they're very interested in it or they've done it before.
Yeah.
So don't take it personal. And that's when you can kind of start adding a little bit of humor in there and, you know, kind of softening it up a little bit so that you can kind of get their protest done, but kind of on their level as well. So I've had to, but that gives you the opportunity with Zoom is that you can, you know, learn about people's motivation and also what their ability is.
Awesome. Awesome. Any other questions for Denise? I know we're getting close to wrapping up here.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we will, Bruce, if you wouldn't mind, or if you don't mind, Denise, we'll put your contact information on. I think it might already be on the outline. I'm not sure.
It is. It's on the bottom of the outline.
So Denise's information is on there. If you have specific questions, I'm sure she would love to help answer those.
Anytime.
Otherwise, this is a great bit of information. Like I said, you can tailor it to your own area, a great way to just stay in front of your clients. And more importantly, just add value on an immense level. I would gladly save hundreds to thousands of dollars on my taxes. So thank you, Denise. So appreciate your contribution today. And next week we have Linnea Carver. If you guys, I don't know if you're familiar with her, she is pretty impressive. And she is going to talk about social media communication on a very organic level, right? And how we can get business just organically instead of ads and whatnot. I'm not going to steal her thunder, but That'll be a great session next week. So I hope you can join us. Otherwise, have a great week. And if I can do anything for you, feel free to reach out as well.
Okay.
Thanks a bunch,
Thank you,
everybody.
Kelly
Thank you,
and
ladies.
Have a
Chris.
great day.
All right, take care.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Denise.
Bye, Erin.